السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah. Today I am here to inform you about a very beautiful project that is very much needed for us for the hereafter, and I'll mention in a couple of sentences why it's needed for us as well in this dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about a loan in the Holy Quran. He says, إِنَّ الْمُصَّدِّقِينَ وَالْمُصَّدِّقَاتِ وَأَقْرَضُوا اللَّهَ قَرْضًا حَسَنًا يُضَاعَفُ لَكُمْ وَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ كَرِيمٌ. That, is there any of you from the believing people, the truthful people, that will donate some of it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted them, and that they will get back something that is greater many times more? And we know that this ayah is referring to your wealth, that when it comes for the time of need, you're supposed to give back, which is a sign of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we know, one that does not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا, the life becomes hard. And He will make it hard. We'll work shift after shift, but no outcome will come. Why? Because the controller is up there, controlling what you do based on how you treat your worship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the reason why I mention this is because the project that I'm about to inform you about, to go through it, you need to implement it within yourself, in your mind, in your heart first. And that is open to sadaqah, which is something that will help us, one of the three things that will help us even after you pass away. But today is not just about yourself. Matter of fact, nothing in Islam is just about yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Holy Quran, as I've mentioned in the ayah, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nar, save yourself and your family from the hellfire. And just like that, in the hadith we find, when there is a command to establish any sort of goodness, it's not just for yourself but for your others. And the best place to start that spread, not in your local masjid, not in the community, not with your neighbor, not even with your brother or sister, but rather with your wife and your kids, your own home. And alhamdulillah, today we have a project that is very sincere, and not anything for any organization, not anything for any sort of corporation, for not any individual, but sincerely just for the hereafter. As we know, for example, to make our family presentable to society, we make sure they have good manners. We make sure they know how to speak good. If the neighbor comes, or there's guests in the house, we make sure our kids don't act up. Why? Because we want to be presentable to society. How about you start thinking about making your family presentable in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Making your family presentable, making your family valuable, making your family respectable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one of the ways that you make your family presentable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is establishing goodness to them. And sadaqah is one of the most beautiful actions that you can teach your kids. You know, we live in a time in society where the greed for money will swallow you. And when your children grow up and they start earning their own, the greed will swallow them. And this will get worse generation after generation. That is why it is very important that from an early young age, especially our kids, we teach them the value of giving something back to the one that gave them everything they have. Giving something back for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Giving something back and teaching them that whatever they're giving back, it will come back to them in many times more. Why? It is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, like this jar over here, keep a jar in every household. Keep a jar where whatever you can, teach your wife and your kids Put something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when there's an amount gathered, send it back home for charity, or even here for charity, any donation center, any refugee camp, whatever the case is. For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, teach your family. And this is what this project is about. Bringing your family closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through sadaqah. Implementing the mindset of sadaqah in their hearts. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us the ability to understand this message, the importance of this message, and gives us the ability to save ourselves and our family from the hellfire. So inshallah, whoever received this message, hopefully, from as soon as you see this message, you'll start not just sadaqah, but every other goodness, starting from salam, to salah, to akhlaq, first within yourself, then through your family. And that is when you can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, Ya Allah, the blessing that you have given me, my wife and my kids, I was properly responsible for them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us in this dunya and the akhirah. And may Allah accept all our contributions and our hard work that we do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.